Well, you're the expert for me when it comes to personal branding, right? You are a LinkedIn top voice. You have a huge community in New York City where it's called it's Gen Z Founders. And I'm really passionate to understand, what is personal branding to you? How do you create it? And how has that led to your success right now?
Yeah, so number one is definitely focusing on finding your why. So my why statement is I strive to help people to become the best version of themselves so they can lead their dream lifestyle.
Okay.
So a big person's like, okay, how do I even start with this? A big thing is looking at like the aha moments like in your head. For me, it was like three valuable insights in my life that made me be like, this is my purpose on life.
What were they?
Number one was actually I got my first internship at a UC Berkeley startup.
Wow.
And I was a Penn State student. I went to a Commonwealth campus called Harrisburg, and that kind of made me realize I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, and I was a junior in college when I came upon pretty much the findings.
Yeah.
And number two was I was really involved with the International Student Association. The big thing,
Okay.
like I am obviously African American and everything, but I actually found a sense of community with international students, and I was
Wow.
really involved,
Yeah.
learning about different countries. I had like a bunch of mentees from like Malaysia to China, and that was a big aha moment. I don't want to just build communities, but I want to build global.
Wow.
communities.
Okay. And why is that the case?
Because I feel like in the community space is a very close knit group of people that always talk about community and build community.
Yeah.
But a lot of times their lenses is in the perception of someone that was just born in the US. So naturally when they do certain things, it may not be inclusive of other cultures and customs and stuff like that. So as a result, for example, I'll give a key example. For
Yeah.
example, if you are creating a group chat and you're probably working for a company or something like that, you're focused, okay, we're going to use Slack. We're going to use GroupMe or something like that.
Yeah.
But it really depends on your audience. Who's your audience you're serving? There's WeChat. WeChat is for China. Is for people that are in China, mainly. But anyone around the world can download the app. Of course, you want access to all the full features.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing on that demographic, there's also WhatsApp. WhatsApp is a great, social platform that mostly international students like to use a lot, especially when they're transitioning their U.S. phone number to their, pretty much their home country's phone number to
I know it's really
US
popular
number.
in India, especially.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great tool to use, platform to use, depending on what your audience is. So,
Yeah. And so when it comes to like building your own personal brand, right? Once you kind of figure out these key components, like what's the next thing you kind of do to like, okay, now I know who I am.
Yeah.
How do I take my internal understanding of that and start to like put that into the world? 'Cause I think that's the hard part for a lot of people.
Yeah, so pretty much how I did about it is, okay, where's my target audience?
Okay.
So for me, I am a career person by heart, so I live and breathe career.
Yeah.
So naturally, what am I going to pick?
Yeah. Careers.
Yeah, so I'm going to put careers and talk about careers and on LinkedIn, because that's going to be my platform that I love to talk about.
Yeah.
And since obviously I told you about the UC Berkeley experience, loving startups, VC, like you were talking about private equity, literally, where else they're going to be on X, on Twitter.
Of course.
So I picked those two platforms, and a big thing was actually sharing my current experiences. What I was doing like in college. So that's when I kind of started my LinkedIn and X journey, was kind of posting, okay, like since I was a part of the International Student Association, what was I learning? What kind of conferences was I going to, kind of providing my perspective on that. And then actually diving into doing cultural deep dives. So reading current like articles about maybe like a perspective of a country, like I'm trying to even like think of something, but it was like I would do like mini deep dives about topics I saw that was really interesting, and I wanted to learn more about it and just give my thought leadership content. As you know, LinkedIn's really big on that. Posting that on LinkedIn.
Definitely, and that's what I've noticed. I think some people really want to grow a LinkedIn audience, right? For example, let's say someone wants to build a personal, professional brand. I think really whatever it's about, as long as it's somewhat applicable and valuable to people, LinkedIn's a good place for that. But not many people know how to like grow on there. I think most people think, oh, maybe if I post every day, I'll have 10,000 followers in a year. And I'm telling you from personal experience, I'm right around 2,000, but it's not as easy as, post every day and it'll work out.
Yep.
So what have you noticed about, okay, you have your brand now and now you're committed to posting.
Yep.
How do you post successfully to where you're actually attracting the audience that you want to have and people can actually connect to you? Because for me, I've noticed that I post things and I have to post it towards a very specific group and it connects with them. But still, it hasn't had that natural mass outreach effect to gain more people who are tuned in. So how have you kind of done that?
So number one is really looking at influencers that are in your industry. So if you're in like IB, let's find some other people that are into IB and are posting actively on LinkedIn.
Okay.
If I'm more on the creative space, maybe I'm a musician or artist. What other musician artist that's posting actively on LinkedIn but getting really good engagement? A lot of likes, comments, and seeing what's their copywriting, how their style is.
Yeah.
A lot of times in the beginning is you just copy the style of a lot of the influencers that you pretty much look up to.
Okay.
And how do you do that? I say using Claude is a great platform.
Is Claude an AI server? What is Claude?
Yeah, so Claude is AI, just similar. There's like ChatGPT that people use. But Claude is literally the game changer. I literally pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's because it has the outputs is very human-like.
Okay.
Everyone can pretty much tell
What's
what is a ChatGPT. But those bots like spamming, literally.
Yeah.
So big thing is you like using Claude, actually typing out, for example, maybe you went to a recent conference at your university, kind of typing it out in your style, kind of the key points you want to put, and actually inputting it into Claude, but then copying actually the style, a LinkedIn post
of someone else's style,
and saying, can you copy the style of this LinkedIn post? And it'll actually edit that LinkedIn post in the style of that person's post. And then, of course, if you can make a couple tweaks,
naturally, of course,
add some emojis, like whatever you like the best, and then you can like put that into pretty much LinkedIn and add your picture or whatever. And as you know, number one now is Reels, like videos, content. As short form content
of course
is the future.
Yep.
So going back to how to scale, get those people that maybe you wouldn't have been able to contact is actually incorporating, you went to a conference at your university or something, film some content and do some different angles, B-rolls, maybe you waving to the camera, you with some friends or like fake friends, like, hey, just be like, hey, you guys want to be in the camera? Like, be able to edit that content and also uploading that to LinkedIn to be able to get those impressions, higher impressions, because LinkedIn is really now prioritizing that video content.
Okay, so do you think that when it comes to this video content, do you think, let's say you want to make a post, you want to grow a following, right? So if you were to restart, let's say you went to a conference, let's say you went to one of your own community events, right? Now you posting about it, you have your written form. Do you think you should post a picture, and then, or do you think you should post a video? And if you post a video, should it be you talking about it? Should it be like documentation? What do you think the perfect kind of way to create a post now is?
Yeah, so actually one of my posts that recently got like 1,000 impressions. Wow. Like the funny thing is that most people you will talk to, they actually don't know why their video went really like viral on LinkedIn. I actually did, it was a day of, instead of doing a day in a life, I did an event in a life. Okay. So it was me filming myself at, it was like FinTech is Femme event. And I was just filming like kind of parts of the conference. I mean, me waving at the camera, but it was more like a day in a life type content. And that did really well. Some people are more comfortable. Maybe you're a little bit more ambitious, want to do just set up a camera and just want to talk to the camera. So like it's really doesn't really matter because actually most people don't know why their content right now. Right now there's no one that has debunked the LinkedIn videos. They don't really know why, but it's really testing and trying.
That's what I've been doing personally. Like even for me, I tried doing street interviews about people's careers. I've done podcast clips like this. So I think trying something where it's more documentation style, maybe with like a voiceover undertone or something like that could be interesting because I think LinkedIn is one of these platforms where it's really has an organic feel to it. You have to be a real person, first of all, to use it. So it eliminates most of the bots, even most of them at least.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go there and your voice is more credible on there compared to an Instagram or a TikTok and things like that. So do you feel like if someone wants to build a personal brand, at least focused on like whether it's their profession or their passions, that LinkedIn is a place to do it?
Yeah, so I feel like LinkedIn is really like where your personality is. So I'm gonna be for real. I use LinkedIn as my journal.
Wow.
So I will literally. It may sound be very controversial. I'm like a Christian, and that's why I love to. That's what my main identity is. Yeah. So I have posted about like Jesus and my Bible verse and relate it to like even startup and VC space. So like people actually resonated. Even if people weren't really liking it, I like to say the art is in the DMs.
Okay.
The DMs is when
it goes down in the DMs.
It's really down in the DMs because people will be like, "Oh my gosh, I really like. I'm not a Christian, but I really loved your perspective on like Christianity and your take about it or whatever." And I think I got influenced by someone that was posting. I forget, it was like Founders Inc. There was one of their founders, like Omar something. He's Muslim. He started a whole Muslim accelerator for Muslim founders.
Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And I remember that made me want to comment on his post, being like, I'm so inspired. Even though I'm Christian, like
it's still the same kind of undertone.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like I'm gonna post about that. So I say, going back to your question, like it really doesn't matter like the platform. It's whatever you authentically feels right. But I like to say, like in the beginning, try everything. Like kind of figure out, then hone on one. A lot of creators say like maybe get 10,000 on one, focus on one. Yeah. But
10,000 impressions, 10,000 like what are you looking?
Followers. Like that's a lot of advice other people give.
Yeah.
For me, I honed down on LinkedIn, and then I did Instagram as a backup for doing some reels and the connections I had on there, because some people aren't really on LinkedIn, as you know. Yeah. Like 1% of like the users are actually actively posting, and most people probably like your friends and stuff, like they just have a profile, but they're not like
putting their experiences. They're not posting their daily things.
Exactly,
on that,
but they're on Instagram. They maybe be on X more.
X, TikTok, things like that. Yeah, I think so. That's fascinating. I think for me, the whole trying to understand is that. Especially when it comes to recruiting, like this is what Growth Street's about. It's like helping people find their next step and work towards their dream lives, which is why I love your mission personally, because I think it aligns with what we're doing. Is nowadays the career game has changed. I think it's used to go from, have a 4.0 at a good school and one internship and you can get a job anywhere. And I think, for example, like having cover letters. I think nowadays a lot of those concepts are like in the past, but most people aren't telling these students nowadays what you actually have to be doing to go ahead and succeed, which is where I really look at. Like LinkedIn is the number one place. If you want to have a successful career or a successful next step, LinkedIn is a place to be. For one, I think you're able to connect with people who want to work at these companies, but two is showcase yourself. Like let's say, for example, you were a janitor, right? You were a janitor, you're 27 years old, maybe you're in a low poverty area, but you have goals to be, I don't know, let's say you want to do business development in the city somewhere. LinkedIn gives you the power to like showcase an entire different side of you and an entire new personal brand, as we're talking about. And now you can kind of leverage, okay, like I can write about certain things. I can speak about certain things. I can have a headline, a profile, and about section where you can actually use that and now connect with people, have actual conversations. Like me and you had a conversation because of LinkedIn. Yeah. And you can have conversations, and that is what can take you from wherever you are. Most people say that the job market sucks. My hot take is the job market doesn't suck. It's that you want to rise into the global level that the workforce is in right now. Because in my opinion, I think the job market, of course, it is a little objectively, it's tougher now, but I think we only look at it as it being harder only due to the fact that now, the entire workforce is global. You used to only compete with your city, your town, your college campus. But now Google doesn't only have to hire from California. Yeah. Now they're looking at Florida, New Jersey, New York, India, Wyoming. Yeah. It doesn't matter wherever the best candidates are from. It's a global game. So the best way to attack a global game is by becoming a global player. And that's what I think LinkedIn is kind of the best place to be on that for.
Yeah, it's kind of great you brought that up, because even like I'm African American or whatever, but I focus on building global communities. I worked for a Norwegian fintech company.
Wow.
They weren't even based in the U.S.
Yeah.
They're based in Oslo, Norway. I worked for even a South Korean company. They were based in South Korea and Seoul, South Korea.
Yeah.
So I think there's also even what you were talking about. We're competing now with global audience.
Yes.
That you don't need to just be employed in your country, but you can seek opportunities globally.
Yes, especially because now we live in a remote world.
Yeah.
Like LinkedIn has a feature when you apply to roles to only filter for remote opportunities. Yeah. So I think, the biggest thing I always try to help people kind of do is figure out one step closer to the next goal. So coming to our conversation, right? So now we have our brand. We've built it up. We understand what our brand is. Now we're on the platforms that we want to be on, and now we're starting to post a little bit. What's the next step towards, okay, now I'm posting a little bit. Yep. Now I have my identity. What next?
Next is really those one-on-one conversations. So start scheduling coffee chats. Those are the game changers, those one-on-one. I know it's tedious, and it can be honestly really can produce anxiety within you, especially like, I don't know who this is, or like, their expectations, or are they going to be mean to me, or they're going to cuss me out like on the call. That has actually never happened to me. Everyone has been really nice that I've met on LinkedIn. Is really, I say, like hopping into the DM. So really scheduling those one-on-one coffee chats with people that maybe you see that are interacting with your, posts, commenting. Yeah. And also like, okay, like you gave the example of that, like Janner that really wants to level up. Actually scheduling calls and reaching out to those people that you inspire to be. Because as you get growing your following, it's easier for these people to accept your connection requests and stuff, and creating a very tailored, I think, outreach to them.
So how do you do it?
Yeah. So for me,
you're the queen of this. Like, as you say, you have multiple per day. I mean, that's how we connected, because you reached out to me, you saw what I was doing, and you're saying, I love what you're doing, you're a founder, let's talk. So what has been your approach to setting up these conversations and actually like turning a chat into a relationship with value?
Yeah, so what helped, when I started in college, this is like borderline when I started with coffee chats, is I was actually happened to do undergrad research. I was a civil engineering major. Obviously, I don't do that anymore. So I did a lot of undergrad research, and during my program, they had a lot of, as in a university, have a lot of speakers come to your university, and you have a chance to possibly ask a question. They always have Q&A typically at the end, so I would make sure to always do a lot of research and have a tailor-made question for them that will really blow people's minds. And what helped was when I was building something in that certain sector.
So give me an example.
Climate. So for example, I built something, I'm trying to even remember the name of it. So I was a civil engineer, environmental engineer, and I did environmental research for this program. Was called Project Drawdown for RU. It's a research experience for undergrads. Most people don't know this exists, but best program I think you can do like in college. But when I was a part of that program, they had like speakers come in, and I said, scheduled a call with them afterwards, because I reached out to them. They usually give their email or their LinkedIn, so I actually make sure to reach out to the speakers afterwards. And they usually remembered me because I gave that really good call. And during the question, like going back to what you said, I built something. So I had built actually a community for people in climate tech. Okay. And I was at a Slack, and I was onboarding some people that I met through X. That time I was using X. That were just willing to join the group chat, and I was just messaging them to join, putting the link out. And from that, I was able to say, I'm building a such and such community. And of course, the speaker had to do something with climate. So they reminded, in their head, they connected that I'm a thought leader, I'm a builder. It's not just an average student. So they were willing to hop on the call with me, and for me to ask them some questions. And the big thing, the key is in the what? Follow up. So always making sure to follow up. You may have the senior executive or someone that comes to your school, or you want to work for Deloitte or, some company. Of course. And they may not respond to you instantly, but you need to follow up, like a couple weeks from now, or 3 times, maybe 2-3 times now. You have to follow up.
So hypothetically, right? So now let's kind of do a live kind of example of it. So I'm a student. I'm a sophomore at I'd say Rutgers University.
Yeah.
There's a speaker coming in from Google, and they're giving a kind of an advice like about their careers, their about their career space postgraduate. They're speaking. I'm in the audience. There's a Q&A. I should go up, ask my question, make it very research focused, have a wow to it. What I always say is I do this in my interviews personally, and my whole strategy is I look up in, like, for example, let's say the company is Kirkland water bottles at Costco. I will look up Costco in like Google News, and I will find their most recent article about them, and I will actually leverage the news article to ask my question. So for example, I'll say, so I recently saw your CEO, John Smith, recently speak about the integration of AI into customer experience. How does this affect the roles that you're hiring for now? And they'll be like, oh wow, like that's how they'll be like, oh wow, so you actually know your stuff. So I ask my question now, and then they leave. Maybe I get their email somehow, maybe talk to them afterward, but they're leaving now. Now I'm home. I send them an email wanting to meet. What does this email look like?
Yeah, so a big thing I say actually using AI, as I said, using Claude to craft it. Honestly, the key is to work smarter, not harder. Like, okay, like you're gonna spend like blood, sweat, and tears, like trying to be like, what's the perfect thing to say when you can actually ask AI. I say like AI is your best friend. Like talk to it like you're talking to a friend. Just being a little bit more descriptive, in what you're saying. So being like, hey, I'm a sophomore and blah, blah, blah. Even you can input your resume into the AI, into Claude, and as a file attachment, and say, like, I'm a sophomore. I go to Rutgers. I had the speaker recently come to my school. This is his name. Maybe add in his bio and say, okay, I'm trying to draft the outreach message, and put like your goal. Be very intentional. Like, what's the call for? Like, were you seeking more job opportunities? Partnership opportunities and different things, even sponsorship opportunities if like you host events or
there's always a way to get out what you want out, but you have to tell it what you want out.
You have to tell it like you want, and always have your value at why they should speak to you. So just pop that into like Claude, and it'll spit out a great response, making you sound so eloquent. And you can always copy and paste that into your email. Of course, and can add a couple things, and can even do like some eye catcher things. So a secret sauce I like to add, even when I meet with fine senior executives that are willing to like actually meet with me, is I do this thing. It's called like, when you go into Instagram, there's Instagram stories. So I do Instagram stories, but my kind of like my resume in Instagram stories. So I use pictures.
Interesting. Okay.
So for example, like I interned at a VC firm or whatever. So I'll have a picture of me in front of that building and say I was a VC intern at Seven Wire Ventures. Next slide, it'll be like, I worked at Career Services. So then I have a picture of me with all the students.
Yeah.
And then the next slide, it'll be like, oh, I was a part of this club association. It'll be a picture. Yeah. And so it's actually a visual.
So you make a slideshow and you attach this to your emails.
Yeah. So I use actually Google Photos. Okay. And I create an album.
Okay.
So, but how do I create this album? I actually use Instagram stories, and I do screenshots.
Okay.
So I create it in Instagram stories.
And then once you post it, you
screenshot and I put it all into the Google photo album.
Yeah.
And I have like a little like name. I call it Pineapple Profile because I got the inspiration from this startup called Pineapple that actually did it for you. Yeah. So I made my own version. Yeah. And so you'll have probably 12 or something, kind of telling your story. Like I went to Penn State, picture of you in front of the Penn State Lion or whatever. Yeah. So you have this visual that for these people to look at, because mainly like everyone gets a picture of a resume, but not everyone gets the pictures.
Yes. Yes.
Telling the story and make it more personable, especially if you have Gen Z. We're multi-passionate. We love a lot of different things.
This is true.
So it's so confusing to people that maybe are like millennials or Gen X that just had the same job and climbed the ladder
for 20 years. Yeah, same company.
Yeah.
So then, so now you send this email to them. Let's say you follow up with them too, and they take the call now. And now you actually went from, all right, I had my brand idea. I'm starting to build my brand, and now I'm doing outreach within my brand. Yeah. Now you're having this call. What does that look like to continue? Yeah. What is it? How do you have a good call, extract value, and leverage this conversation and this connection rather than having a 20-minute chat for nothing?
Yeah. So what I do is actually during the call, what I did when I was just starting out, is with these thought leaders I was having calls with, I would ask them at the end of the call, I'll be like, hey, are you okay if I take a screenshot of us together? It was a virtual call.
Yeah.
And 99%, I mean, for me, it was 100%. No one ever said no. No one ever, because it's free marketing.
Yeah.
When you position it like, oh, it makes me look good. Like, I'm meeting with a student. I'm giving back to my community.
Yeah, yeah.
So literally, they're going to say yes.
Yes.
And you do a little screenshot. You edit the screenshot. And actually, you put that into a LinkedIn post. And you say, oh my gosh, I met with the CEO. I don't know if Deloitte. I don't know, or something.
Yeah.
And these are my learnings and takeaways from that. And then the thing is, you tracked eyeballs. People that want that opportunity are like, oh, you're credible. You're starting to seem more credible, that they were willing to meet with you versus some other person.
Yes.
So that also builds up the traction.
Yeah, because it makes sense. I mean, what it sounds like is, if you're having this conversation with someone, you post it, now they're going to interact with it because it looks good for them. So their objective, like their value is getting that, it makes them look better for them having a conversation with you. It makes you attached now to that person. So now let's say you meet with the founder of Google or something, let's say. Now maybe Zuck over at Facebook or Meta is like, wait, well, I want to talk to this girl too. And then it starts to be, you kind of build credibility for yourself through the conversations you're having. And most people have these conversations, they don't post it. So you think posting is the sauce?
Posting is the sauce because, oh, I met with Beyonce. I can tell people I met with Beyonce. But if I have a picture of me and Beyonce, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, this girl, she's cool.
Yeah.
And that is usually that's just word of mouth. That adds the, multiplier, the 10x, the 100 plus effect of not you just telling one person, but having the whole world seeing you met with that one person.
Because you never know doors that can open for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really underrated thing, because that's what I love about the podcast too, right? Because I think inherently, I didn't even think about it that way, but me just having this show, I'm sure with you as well, like we can have this conversation, and people that I know, other founders might want to connect with you, and then people maybe that you know in your face who want to be on the podcast interact with me, and that's how it can naturally benefit both sides by just one organic post. It's crazy how that can work out. So then, like, let's say you had that conversation now, right? Now you posted about it, now you're getting engagement. Is that where the value ends for you? Or like, how do you, like, what does the kind of personal brand cycle look like? Does it repeat? Like, what is the next step kind of after that?
Yeah, typically it's like you can repeat that. And then like once you start having those, for me, it was like 100 coffee chats with people in different industries. Cause like I really didn't really know. I knew I was a civil engineering major. I knew I wanted to explore something entrepreneurial.
Yes.
I just learned about climate tech. I didn't even know there was health tech and all these other big sectors. So like a big thing was actually me meeting with these people from different sectors, but actually having what do you call it, like one-on-one conversations with them, and then posting about it. But also I'm trying to think what I was gonna say. Now I need to think.
No, you're good. I think what you're saying is really fascinating.
I forgot what I said.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
But I think the whole kind of value point here is that what it sounds like is you have this whole idea of who you want to be, and the way you can do it is by just two simple things. It's kind of post about it and build your profile about this topic, and then have conversations within this topic with people who are involved in it. And if you do these two things repeatedly, inherently your brand will build in this specific space. So I think now it's like, okay, now over the course of, LinkedIn specifically, this is where you are a big brand. How does someone who now wants to be a big global brand like yourself and have this LinkedIn top voice, because that's not an easy badge to get for you. You are a LinkedIn top voice. How does someone who wants to grow a brand on LinkedIn now, a little bit more specifically, go ahead and, like, if you were to give advice to someone, hey, I want to be a LinkedIn top voice, how do they go and do that? Yeah,
so what I did was I actually got the favor of my role model. My only role model is Megan Lois.
Okay.
She's like the Gen Z VC queen. She coined the term, as I became a super fan of who I looked up to on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I made sure to be one of the first likes, first comments. I made sure to set that like little bell notification to get all her latest posts. And actually all the things that she was doing, like her program, she had this mentorship program. I got into that, and I made sure to send her email like, oh, there isn't a Slack community. And I'm willing to help out with that because a big thing, thought leaders,
Yep.
they don't have all the time in the world, and she's
Yes.
letting me to be
How
the
can you add
community
value?
lead.
Yes.
Community lead for that. So we had like 140
Wow.
students from all over the world, and I was the community lead of that Slack group. As a result, I was able to set up one-on-one conversations like with people. So that was even outside, I like to say, of LinkedIn and Slack, but how like this all tied in was having like, of course, those one-on-one conversations. It led to me actually be able to post about that on LinkedIn, saying I am the community of this and adding credibility because I worked under her, and it led to me be able to be the community lead of her VC 101 course, which had 1,000 people.
Wow.
And that's how I got my job opportunity at a Norwegian fintech company, because one of the coffee chats I had ended up being a man who's now my mentor and was my previous employer. He was blown away by my conversation because I sent him actually a list of pretty much of coffee community leaders, because I really knew about community space. So I made sure to send that to him, and he actually sent it to his home company. And so like from that experience, like going back to even like LinkedIn, was like kind of having those volunteering for a big time influencer really helped give me credibility, because I was able to connect with all the people from those programs and get one-on-one chats with them, post about it, but then also,
kind of go from there. So you think every person should find one creator who is doing almost exactly what they're doing? Did interact, so would you say, so turn on the notification bell for them, always be the first one so are you commenting on every post? What kind of stuff are you commenting? How are you engaging with this account to like get this opportunity, get these kind of opportunities? How are you engaging personally?
So pretty much it's being very thoughtful, so actually reading the post.
Actually read the post, guys.
Like actually reading it like top to bottom and making sure to do the link outs and reading whatever, if it's like an article or something, and doing thoughtful comments and likes. And over time, those people will start to notice you. Because I'll give you example. Grace Lynn, she's the founder of Design Buddy. She says she remembers all the people that comments on her LinkedIn, and she sends them actually connection requests. And then she actually schedules coffee chats with those people that actually comments on her posts. So a big thing is like over time, people notice you.
Especially over the course of maybe weeks, months, even a year. I'm pretty sure if there was someone who commented on my post every day for a year, I'd be like, all right, who are you? Like, I need to at least talk to you to understand what's going on.
Why me?
Yeah, seriously. Okay, cool. So, I think, so now we've kind of seen how to build your personal brand, right? It's like actually have connections. One of the things also get experience. I think one thing that people should do is whatever experience you have, I call it turning garbage into gold. I'm not saying everyone's experience is garbage, but if you don't talk or share your experiences at all, objectively it is garbage because no one knows about it. It's not turning into anything. But you can literally be doing anything and make it sound way better than it is. So in my opinion, one thing I always tell everyone is, I don't care if you are a desk helper at your local, dormitory at college. I don't care if you are a food volunteer at a local food shelter. I don't care what you're doing. There's a way to make it sound valuable and twist that into what you want your goal to. So for example, one of my friends wanted to be a product manager, right? So he was asking me, how do I do that? How do I go from where I am now? Because it's not related to what I'm working on now. So, okay. So the way to do that on LinkedIn especially is, one, do all these LinkedIn learning courses, do all this extra learning, and then post about what you're learning. Like, again, fall into your niche. Like, LinkedIn is like every other social media platform to where you can kind of create your own little ecosystem, right? I'm sure on TikTok or Instagram, you keep scrolling a million times. It's all curated now, right? You go on YouTube, the recommended videos are all things that you naturally like. So on LinkedIn, you should do the same thing, but create your own kind of algorithm for yourself, right? So if you want to be a product manager, all right, all I'm going to be doing, I'm going to post about product management and what I'm learning and what I'm doing and where I want to go, connect with people who are in that space, reverse engineer things that way. And which leads me to my next kind of thought is, so now you kind of built this entire ecosystem for yourself, right? You've done it, you have the experience now, you have the brand, and now you have the connections. How do you think people should like leverage this brand now into like succeeding? Because I think a lot of people are probably working in a corporate space. I think most people on LinkedIn are working at a job, but they still want to have some kind of brand or something. How do they turn these connections and this following now into things that can change their life?
Yeah, so I'll do my example is I transitioned this following into hosting events.
So tell me about that. So I know you just hosted an event recently. So tell me about what this is like for you.
Yeah, so for me, it really helped me be able to, I use Luma since obviously I talked about, you mentioned I'm in private equity, I'm in the venture capital space. Luma has a bunch of like tech events and stuff on it. So pretty much what I did was actually post about, I created a community. And from that community, people said they wanted IRL events. It was a Gen Z community for Gen Z founders. And one of my community members, Zibo, she actually was an NYU student and said she wanted IRL like event. And I said, oh, let's host it together. So I went, we hosted, I kind of put the link together, Canva, design, like threw some stuff together.
Shout out Canva. I use Canva too for all my thumbnails and everything.
Yeah, literally. So put that all together, had the description. Then I had her promote it and I promoted it. So she had that NYU alumni and I had my connections. Just, I have over 10K followers like on LinkedIn now. So first I got those organic, couple signups. And then the cool thing about Luma that people don't know about.
Tell me.
They don't know. So for whatever city you're in, from Austin to like, in Singapore or like New York, they have this like submit event feature where you can actually, when you have about like 5+ signups, you can actually put the link in to submit and the Luma team will review it and actually do free marketing for you. Put it on that city. So I got most of my signups. Like I don't really had to do much work because it was a gap of Gen Z founders in New York City. People were just signing up and I got like over 150 signups. Wow. Just from like Luma itself.
This is a free event? Did you have to pay for a ticket? What did that look like?
Yeah, so it actually got so many signups. I ended up charging like towards the last week, like $10. And I got 15 people were willing to actually pay. And I got 2 sponsors for my first event.
Wow.
So a big thing was turning those, I like to say those digital URL connections you're meeting, those coffee chats into IRL events.
So you're turning URL into IRL.
Yes.
Okay.
That's like the goes in sauce. And from that led to even more opportunities because they're bringing not just themselves, but their friends. In Luma is really interesting. You're actually, when I analyze the people that were actually attending the events, a lot of them weren't active social media people. Okay. But they were senior executives, investors, founders. Yeah. They just weren't too active, particularly on LinkedIn. Yes. But in person, you're able to target a whole new audience when you do those IRL events.
Yeah. And then so now you host this IRL event. Yeah. How did it go? Tell me about like creating this. So now you've ran this. Like what was that like?
Yeah. So from that opportunity, it led to partnerships to host more events. Yes. And actually my first speaking engagement. So I was my first ever IRL speaking engagement was actually at the French American Chamber of Commerce.
Wow, congratulations. Okay,
and
awesome.
And look at me. Do I look like I'm French?
I'm not
French. No, I'm not French like at all. Yeah. So literally it was like senior executives from all the top like French companies were there. Yeah. And I was a panel. I was the only African American woman there. Yeah. And I was the panelist with all the other panelists were at least like 50+. Wow. So I was that Gen Z representation.
Yeah, seriously.
And I got that because I was partnering with other people hosting events. As I said, I like to focus on global audience. Yes. So naturally I attract people that are like usually immigrants or first generation in that. And it led me to that, my first IRL speaking opportunity.
Yeah, and like that's what I think is one of the coolest perks about personal branding because the benefits you get are sure great conversations, maybe even a job, but you can get paid in different ways and get unique opportunities like speaking engagements, like brand deals, like partnerships. Like for example, I'm sure if you have 10, 20,000 followers in any niche about, let's say, water drinking or some science regarding chemicals or whatever, right? It's like maybe someone will pay you to advertise your water bottle, or they'll come to you for you to speak at some conference, right? So talk to me about the benefits of having a personal brand, your benefits specifically that you've been like, whoa, all I've been doing was sharing my journey, and now things like the speaking agent have done all the benefits that have come back to you.
Yeah, so I like to say, like, to get wealth in life, you need on average, like, what is it, 6 to 7 streams of income. So you can't just have the 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Okay, 9 to 5 job, you get laid off, then you got no income.
Yep,
for
zero.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So like you need to have those backups, those consulting calls. Like I was able to building a personal brand, get consulting calls with like consulting gigs with pretty much other startups, emerging startups. And the big thing also with that is you can start doing the pitching, the outreach, pitching yourself as a thought leader. That's what's needed. You need to pitch yourself as a thought leader, as a Gen Z speaker, consultant, Gen Z, whatever. So it's actually, you can now start to pitch yourself to companies. And it's really like a numbers game that will be willing to take you on as a consultant, creator, willing to sponsor your events. That's another way to get money, along with like speaking engagements and even getting paid to create a social media post. Yeah. Now you built that following. Maybe there's someone, okay, if you're a PM, there's maybe some ed tech startup that recently got funded $40 million. They're willing to actually pay you for a post, like $200 or $300. And as you grow your following, it could be $1,000 you're popping out per post. Yeah,
seriously, which is insane to think about just off of your ideas and your kind of likeness.
Yeah.
So for you, when it comes to partnerships, right? So kind of what the space you're at now is you just became a LinkedIn top voice. You're crushing the game. Really, that's really impressive stuff. So now how does it look like for you, the real transparency for you getting partnerships? Do people inbound to you? Are you doing outreach?
Yeah.
Is it specific kinds of partners you're getting?
Yeah.
How much can an average person expect to make from this? Like, what does your entire partnership landscape look like from your personal brand?
Yeah, so I kind of just got started as I just moved to New York City in May. So that was just a couple months ago. Yeah. And I just started hosting events like 2 months ago. Wow. And I just, as of today, got my first like venue partnership.
Let's go. Congrats.
So like for me, it's more like, it depends on the creator, but okay, I get inbound, but I do a lot more outbound than inbound. As of now. So a lot of me doing a little pitch to people on LinkedIn as I use LinkedIn Premium to get that in mail messages. That's one of the bonuses of being a top voice. You get free premium.
Yeah, I still somehow have free premium because I used to work there. But I don't know if it's supposed to expire or not, but I still get it. So
just like, don't tell them.
Don't tell anyone. Hope you're not watching this.
Yeah, so pretty much that's like how I do a lot of pitching. I get inbound of people that want to do partnerships or like hop on a call. But I like to say with anything you're doing, when you're doing a contract with person, make sure to get everything in writing.
Okay. And
making sure to do that invoice or whatever. Like getting everything in writing is super big. And what I just recently, because I got burned by someone recently.
What happened?
So like I worked for this, actually, it was another Gen Z founder.
Okay.
Building up her newsletter, and she actually didn't pay me, and she ended up giving the company away to this other person. Okay. And that person is just not messaging back.
Yeah.
And so I don't really expect to get the money back, but I let them know that I was deeply disappointed how she handled her business and everything.
Yeah.
But a big thing is having a part of it upfront.
Okay.
So asking for maybe if it's half or 1/3 upfront, just because you don't want to get burned in the process of building your side income from your 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, you know? And then when it comes to, which for one, that sucks. That happened to you. Because recently too, like, that happened to me where I was doing marketing on Instagram. And dude, a lot of these people are trying to scam you out here, yo. So you don't want that to happen. So someone almost got me, but we had the vision on, so we were good. But so when it comes to you doing outreach, like, because from what it sounds like, it's like, just by being a top voice, people are not just flooding your DMs with opportunities, right? So you're actually going to make them happen yourself. What is your like outreach strategy to getting partnerships? Because again, I imagine someone watching this now, let's say they watched the first half, they built their brand, they're coming back 2 months later to watch the second part now. And now they're saying, well, I have a lot of followers. I have a pretty good niche going. How do I monetize this now? How do I actually go out and get deals? What do you do? What has worked for you? What has not worked? And like, what overall is a good, successful outreach strategy to leverage yourself to get brand deals and partnerships?
Yeah, so for me, how I got my first venue partnership is I actually looked at like kind of, there's a lot of websites where you can see people are posting their venues online and you can like rent out like $50 per hour, $100 per hour. So I actually did headhunting in New York City, meeting with the people that actually was in charge of that venue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it just happened that one venue, they said they're willing to actually give it away for free. And that they just asked for, me to know the date and all that stuff. So as a result, that was like a venue partnership. As a result, I didn't have to pay for that venue. And it's like a long-term partnership. So they're allowing me to host anything at their place. In terms of actual sponsorship, my first event that got 2 sponsors, one was actually like a VC firm. It was actually, I knew someone because I attended his event. That was sponsored, and I reached out to him. So what I did was in my outreach, I don't blatantly ask for sponsorship because honestly, I wasn't even asking for sponsorship. I just asked him how was he sponsored, or does he know like how did he get his sponsorships? And through that,
so you said I'm hosting my own event.
Yeah.
What advice do you have on getting a partnership? Something
getting a sponsorship. Yeah. And from that, he was actually willing to pay for the venue for like my first event.
Wow.
Because I outreached to him and he was willing to like actually be a sponsor because the reason I had this target audience. So big thing is outreaching to people with their target audience.
Okay, gotcha. And then in this email, you're basically, so I guess the question is, let's say you don't have a personal connection who can sponsor you. Let's say, let's say I am a creator who likes technology and I want, someone to sponsor me. Maybe they're a phone case. Yeah. Maybe it's some phone accessory, something along those lines.
Yeah.
What can I say to a company that I wish to partner with me to get a message back, leveraging my personal brand, what I've created, to get the dream opportunity for them to pay me money, hopefully to collaborate or something along those lines?
Yeah, so what I do is I look for startups that recently have been fundraised.
Okay, how do you do that?
So pretty much I followed actually, there was this newsletter called like Next Play. And they actually, the founder, I know he posts like on LinkedIn kind of startups that recently have been funded. But a big thing, you can do like a Google search or use AI to say what startups have recently been got fundraising, and reaching out to those founders saying like, okay, for me, it was like, I know I have a Gen Z audience. Yeah. They're building a product that's for Gen Z. If they're building a product for Gen Z. So it's like, I have your target audience and I kind of outreach recently to a French founder, and I was able to leverage that. Oh, I spoke at the French Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, so and all that stuff. Like he was willing to take a call with me. He said he's willing to sponsor a Gen Z mobile app development thing. But the thing is, like when you take these calls, you may not know exactly what they want, so you can keep it kind of broad. I have a community of 100+ Gen Z in New York City. Are you willing to hop on a call for 15 minutes this week? So being very direct, 15 minutes this week, putting your value at no more than three sentences.
Really? That's how short your emails are?
Yeah, that's how short.
Wow. Do you attach any images or slides or anything like that to your emails?
No. So I do LinkedIn connection requests.
Yep.
And then this has to be under 300.
I don't know, yeah.
But honestly, just in general, I think even Avni Baram, she's the founder of Generation She gave this advice, like only doing 3 sentences. Because people's attention span is very short. Just having,
no one wants to read the entire.
No one wants to read the same thing. So it's really having that 3-sentence format, seeing if they're willing to take a call, and in that call you get to learn a little bit more about them, what they're willing to sponsor, and be able to follow up with them.
Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, I think this is fascinating. I think because most people sometimes can think about these kind of concepts and be like, well, building a brand is cool, but what does it actually do for me? Yeah. Well, I think when people hear the benefits of it and how it can drastically change situations and again add another passive stream of income, not really passive, but it's like all for just being who you are publicly, you can get paid for it. And you can open new doors and have a new kind of style of life. And I think the last thing I really want to talk to you about is, now let's say I want you to imagine you're doing this all over again. And someone who's watching this feels like, okay, I learned a lot. Now I'm here and I want to go and do this. What should they do right now? Or is there a 1-month plan, 2-month plan? What kind of plan would you write up for a person to, hey, do this for a year or however long, and you will have a great personal brand. You'll make money off of it. You'll have great connections, and maybe it can open new doors for you. What would that plan be?
Yeah, big is number one, starting with find your why. Why do you do what you do? I think Simon Sinek, he has a really good book called Find Your Why. You're able to break down your key aha moments in your life and be able to create that why statement. From that why statement, you're able to start figuring out who your target audience is and who you want to actually market to, and choosing what platform like you want to really like focus on based on where your key target audience is. Then you can start really slow. I like to say, like, for me, I started doing like 3 LinkedIn posts per week. For you, maybe 1, depending on your workload. So starting 1, like, based on your current experiences, really based on what is your goal, whatever your goal is for your key audience. Are you trying to get clients, job opportunities? Are you just trying to like meet cool new people? Because it may be like you just posting once a week about that cool new person you met. Or it could be kind of, if you want to be an emerging PM, kind of like doing a case study about something related to PM, that thought leadership content that will get that senior executive from a company or a recruiter to read it. So it's really figuring out what your goal is. And then from there, kind of analyzing your analytics, what's working, what's not, and really reiterating, even like, I would say like in half of the year, figuring out what's working, what's not, and reiterating from those coffee chats. What questions are people asking you in those coffee chats? And you can post content that the questions people are always asking you. And the goal is to position yourself as a thought leader. So even setup, I use TopMate. There's a lot of different.
I use TopMate as well.
So set yourself up with hourly rates, whether it's like you do career consulting or like whatever. If you're a PM, emerging PM, maybe you do like, you know, emerging PM like consulting. So starting to list your services and put your rate. List what your rate is, if it's $100 per hour or whatever. Putting your worth. Even if no one books, it just puts you as a thought leader. And then starting to get PR experiences. So actually getting in journal articles and stuff like that. So when you have your LinkedIn, you can tag all the thought leadership conferences that you spoke at, the journal articles you are. And the goal is to position yourself as a thought leader, whether you're trying to get clients or job opportunities. And then from that, like you can scale to doing the inbound, outbound for sponsorships, partnerships, clients, and whatnot.
Yeah. Wow, I think you just broke down. Like you have the scroll when it comes to personal branding. I think it really is as simple as you just said. Again, obviously there's work that has to be done, but it really just comes down to understand who you are, be who you want to be to the world, have valuable conversations, and then become a thought leader. You do those things, and then from there, it's, okay, well, now I have enough credibility to now I can attract the benefits. So yeah, I mean, I think this is amazing. I think I'd love to hear more from what you have coming up next. I think the last thing is really, what do you have coming up next for yourself, Natalie? Do you have any events coming up? What's the future look like for you? Because I would love people to stay in touch with what you're doing, interact with you, maybe join your community, things like that.
Yeah, so I like to say the other benefits of becoming a thought leader is that now you can actually connect with people. Like all those celebrities that you thought were untouchable, they're actually willing to hop on calls with you and partner with you. So next year, I'll be starting partnering with some of those actually thought leaders and hosting IRL events like in person in New York City, and also be launching my course, so personal branding course.
Amazing. Where's that going to be on?
Yeah, so I'm in talk with a lot of people, different companies, so I have to pick which one I kind of want to do, and launching that course like next year. Amazing. I'm doing more events, hosting more events and stuff like that in different cities and expanding. And goal is to go global.
Let's global brands. Yeah. No, I love it, Natalie. I really love it. And where can people find you at? I love people who are watching right now to, find you on LinkedIn, your website, anything you want to plug. This is your moment to shout out, plug whatever you want to plug.
Yeah, well, my LinkedIn handle is Natalie Neptune. I say Neptune like the planet. Yep. And then I'm on Instagram. The Natalie Neptune is pretty much my handle. And feel free to reach out on any of those platforms.